the O'Hare extension in Canfield. You also tap the brakes between the junction and Sacramento. O'Hare to downtown is 24. From the junction takes 12. On the O'Hare extension 190 heading eastbound, it's heavy between O'Hare Airport and Manheim Road. And on the Stevenson inbound, tap the brakes between State Street and Lakeshore Drive. 355 to Lakeshore Drive is 35 minutes. From the Tri-State takes 25. And from Cicero takes about 11 minutes. Taking a look now at the temperatures for tonight. Tonight it'll be 49 degrees and clear skies. Tomorrow, look for temperatures around 61 and some sunshine. And currently it is 56 degrees. It's pretty nice right now. Next update in 15 minutes on AM560, The Answer.
If you're looking for a better shooting experience, imagine shooting virtually all your firearms the same day. You can move and shoot steel, draw from the holster, or compete in a 3-gun match. You can exercise that rifle out to 600 yards, even engage in a very challenging sporting clays course or a round of trap or skeet. Do all that and much more at the Aurora Sportsman's Club. Whether you're a novice looking for a basic course or an experienced shooter looking for an advanced course, even if you want to participate in your favorite shooting event such as IDPA or cowboy action shooting. Spend an enjoyable day with the family at the Aurora Sportsman's Club, the only shooting facility in the region that offers all of that and more. If that sounds interesting, don't miss the next orientation and a tour of the Aurora Sportsman's Club in Waterman, Illinois. Call the membership department at 815-264-9000 extension 44 for information. That's 815-264-9000 extension 44 to join a one-of-a-kind shooting facility. The Aurora Sportsman's Club.
Attention market watchers. Until recently, the market hadn't seen back-to-back days of 500-point losses since November of 2008. What if you had no market exposure? What if you didn't have to worry about the markets? How would you sleep? Leave the volatility behind. Hi, this is Jack Taboda. Our proprietary income strategies provide reliable, inflation-protected income, guaranteed for life, with no market exposure. Call me at 630-777-7955. That's 630-777-7955. You've worked hard to build your wealth. I work hard to protect it. 630-777-7955.
Insurance products may be presented and guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the insurance company represented. Securities offered through ProEquities, Inc., a registered broker-dealer and member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services offered through Harvest Investment Services, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Taboda and Associates and Harvest Investment Services, LLC, are independent of ProEquities, Inc.
You never want a serious crisis to go to waste.
If I could have gotten 51 votes in the Senate of the United States for an outright ban, picking up every one of them, Mr. and Mrs. America, turn them all in, I would have done it.
I have 2 words for you: predator drones. You will never see it coming.
It's time for On Target Radio, Chicagoland's only radio show dedicated to the red meat issues that affect your life, from gun control to freedom of speech. Now, debating, debunking, and discussing today's hot issues. Here are your hosts, David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz.
Welcome to On Target Radio. Tonight, David and Gretchen will be talking about the Second Circuit contradicting Heller and McDonald by upholding the New York SAFE Act. The creation of yet another unaccountable czar in the Obama administration, this time to keep track of right-wing extremists. The unheard of usurpation of power by the White House. And charges against a Chicago father after his 6-year-old son shoots his 3-year-old brother. And be sure to catch tonight's segment 6 when David and Gretchen will be taking a look at whether or not total gun confiscation will be possible in the United States. All that and more on tonight's On Target Radio. So be sure to give us a call at 312-642-5600 or go to Facebook and like our page On Target Radio and ask a question there.
And now, from the seething cauldron of personal opinion, it's time for David's Rant of the Week.
It should come as no surprise that the Obama administration has once more moved another few yards toward the goalpost of total gun confiscation. Earlier this week, the Second Circuit Court of Appeals handed down a decision that essentially none of the New York SAFE Act violates the Second Amendment. A 3-judge panel ruled the expanded weapons and I violate the Second Amendment because they are substantially related to the achievement of an important governmental interest, public safety, and crime reduction. The only thing safe about the New York SAFE Act is it's safe to say it's anti-gun. It was passed immediately following the Newtown and Webster, New York shootings. New York's Governor Andrew Cuomo hailed it as a model for the rest of the country, saying, and I quote, "When we passed the SAFE Act just days after the tragedies in Newtown and Webster, New York, we proved to the nation that it is possible to enact sensible gun control that coexists with the Second Amendment. We showed that it can be done with bipartisan support from both urban and rural communities, and we took a fundamental step forward to help end the stream of senseless killings by keeping guns out of the hands of criminals and the dangerously mentally ill," unquote. Oddly, reading the New York SAFE Act doesn't seem to turn up any provisions that would have actually prevented either the Newtown or Webster tragedies. It further goes to underscore the reality that common sense gun laws is simply a euphemism for increased limits on what you can own, where you can go with it, how you can use it, and eventually your right to own it to begin with. The New York SAFE Act redefines an assault weapon, saying, and I quote on this one, "Rifles, shotguns, and handguns with certain characteristics are defined to be assault weapons, including semi-automatic rifles with detachable magazines and one military-style feature." New York State previously banned assault weapons using a two-feature test taken from the now expired federal assault weapon ban. The New York SAFE Act also expands the definition to include pistols and shotguns with certain proscribed features. Pre-existing owners are grandfathered, but must register the firearm and recertify every 5 years. Registration and recertification of grandfathered ownership will be the subject of review by the New York State Police for disqualifiers, which may not have yet been defined. Additionally, defined assault weapons may not be inherited and must be sold out of state or to an in-state licensed dealer. It also includes a ban on magazines that hold more than 10 rounds. There's more, but you get the drift. Be that as it may, it is hardly a coincidence that the ruling comes literally a few days after Obama yet again made his case for Australian-style gun bans and alluded to the repeal of the Second Amendment. And don't bother counting the days until the tyrant is out of office, because Hildebeest has gone on record, she's for a total gun ban, confiscation, and repeal of the Second Amendment also. In fact, every Democrat who has sniffed the rarefied atmosphere of a presidential run has much the same agenda. A Democratic win in 2016 will mark the beginning of the end, since the president will pick at least 2 Supreme Court justices, and we all know how that so-called nonpartisan process works on both sides of the aisle. Should it go before the Supreme Court and they uphold it, then Congress can simply outlaw guns and confiscate them at will. And by declaring firearms illegal, the confiscation won't include due process or compensation for the taking of private property. Guns will become illegal, and similar to illegal drugs, confiscation with impunity will be the law of the land. The problem is there are about 300 million firearms in the United States. I suspect more than a few firearm owners aren't going to agree with a gun confiscation, and that's when things will most likely start to get messy. There is some level of hope, however. 16 states considered implementation of Second Amendment Preservation Act bills in 2015. For instance, a new Tennessee law prohibits the state from implementing or enforcing federal gun measures that would, quote, violate the Tennessee state constitution, unquote. The bottom line is simply this. Next year will be the single most important election in the history of our country. Everyone must turn out to vote and vote for candidates based on a single issue, the Second Amendment. No candidate is ever going to reflect your exact way of thinking. But for this election, think Second Amendment and nothing else. Anything less will literally mean the end of the country we grew up in and learned to love. And that, Gretchen, is my rant for the week.
Another thing that we could do is those states that have those laws, the Second Amendment preservation laws, we can just, tip the balance in their favor. I mean, Illinois has seen net out migration, already because of economics and all
Sure.
of that. But I think, blue states like ours are going to see even more migration if they start trying to do things like that.
You're listening to On Target Radio. This is AM560 The Answer. Give us a call, 312-642-5600. We're talking about the Second Circuit literally has thrown it in the face of Heller and McDonald. They're leading the way literally to an all-out gun ban. That's where it's headed.
Right.
And none of the Democratic people, every single one of them, try and outdo each other.
Right.
I mean, it's
how much gun control they want.
Yeah,
to
exactly,
enact.
exactly. And it, you know what, Republicans, the last election turned out okay,
Yeah.
and we saw how that went.
Yeah.
And here's what bothers me about that. Now people will go, yeah, well, I did last time, and look what happened. They didn't do anything they said they were going to do.
The Congress.
The Congress, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I have bad feeling about this. And if Hildebeest gets elected, we're done.
Yes, I would tend to agree with you on that one. If really any Democrat gets elected,
well, it's true because Bernie,
we're pretty much done.
He's as big a whack job as she is.
Bigger.
And I mean, she's like Teflon with the Libya thing. I think she's going to walk. She's going to skate on this one.
Well, yeah, I don't know if she'll skate on Benghazi, but people are saying she's going to skate on the email thing. But I mean, they're saying she could be brought up on multiple felonies.
You watch these with the exception of Trey, right?
Gotti.
Yeah, with the exception of him, I haven't seen another Republican with a set.
Well, Ted Cruz has a set. Ted Cruz has pretty much taken on everybody who's tried to.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Try to come against him.
That's two. Two in how many?
Right.
Yeah.
Like 465 or something like that.
I really do. This worries me a lot because you look at, we're going to talk coming up the next segment. We're going to talk about the right wing czar thing. I mean, and here's the thing about this: they're stacking the deck. You know what they're doing? They're putting illegal immigrants in Republican areas. Did you read about this? They're intentionally targeting places so they can dilute the vote.
Right.
So what they're trying to do is take current conservative states and flood it with immigrants to zero out the vote.
Right.
And you don't and I'm a little unsure exactly how this works. And you probably know because you're political. But they don't even have to vote.
Right.
It raises their by population. It raises their electoral college.
Well, actually, that would benefit them more if they raised it in Democrat areas, because then they get more votes.
See, now that's the part that doesn't make sense to me, because if you send them into a Republican stronghold and do that, it's still a Republican stronghold.
Right. You get more Republican votes in the electoral college.
So
if you do that.
I didn't wrap my brain around what they were saying.
Are you thinking of where they're trying to equalize neighborhoods, like neighborhoods that are too wealthy? They're trying to settle, basically settle lower income people in high income neighborhoods.
That's that magic sound, isn't it?
It is.
That was a quick one. We're gonna be back after a few messages, and when we come back, we're going to talk about our president has another unaccountable czar, and this one is probably going to watch you if you're listening to On Target Radio, and this is AM560. The answer.
If you listen to this show, you're probably going to watch.
Here's another short one. That's what she said.
What?
I said, that's what she said.
Yeah.
A short segment.
Yeah. And that went quick. That's what she said.
Right, exactly. I do want to read this one thing, though. Their finding in this thing is the more accurate the gun,
it's more deadly.
Exactly. So let me see if I understand. It's okay to give people guns that they'll miss what they're aiming at and shoot the kid. That makes sense.
That's okay. Yeah. Or leave the house. That's fine.
There is no common sense at any level among these people.
Yeah, I was reading something today about the M4 being in its regular standard configuration, being very much more accurate than people think.
We have people shooting 600 yards.
No, I know that, but I mean like an M4 with a 14.5-inch barrel too. That's everything. With a 14.5-inch barrel and a regular standard handguard.
Yeah.
Doing like 750 yards with it. Stuff, you know?
Well, what do we have to qualify?
And with the stock trigger.
In the Army, we had to qualify.
I imagine it's less than that.
400 yards.
That would make sense. That's what I would think. It's probably something like that. Because my brother-in-law mentioned it to me that we had to do that at one point in his career.
But you also got to remember that these are a bunch of 18, 19, 20-year-old kids who've never seen a rifle in their life.
Yeah, well, for the most part, right. Yeah. Some hunt and stuff too. It's different. But I thought it was kind of cool to see this article and talk about how accurate it really is. If people don't give it the credit it should have. You know, in its standard format. They do all those changes like the floating handguard and all that. You know, competition trigger. It's better yet.
David Fisher, call and ask a question or make a comment. 312-642-5600. Oh, did you put that up? Oh, I saw David Fisher. I'm going, that's interesting. Somebody that put his name came out first.
So he liked it.
Yeah, I'm going, wow, we got another announcer.
We liked it,
Yeah.
West Grand, Chicago, or call 773-533-9806. That's 773-533-9806. Stone City, it's your home, only better.
This is Dan Tullis, and I just called Joe Clark, one of Select Quote Insurance Services Term Life Agents. Hi, Mr. Tullis. Joe, how does Select Quote save you money?
This guy's.
Life insurance. Well, buying term life insurance is all about you.
I think it's the same guy in this commercial that's playing.
Yeah.
It's doing it, they just modify his voice. I thought I was laughing.
He's very vocal. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like you can tell if you listen to it, you're like,
Yeah,
that doesn't sound
but people
right.
don't. People.
I know, right.
He's in Dallas, as I recall. He's got cojones, man. He's got a great voice when he uses it.
Right.
I bring it in.
We shop, you save.
Issuing company and other factors in all states.
You're listening to On Target Radio on AM560 The Answer with David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz. Here's David and Gretchen with more interesting conversation on gun control, concealed carry, freedom of speech, and other red meat issues that affect your life.
And we're back with more On Target Radio. Give us a call, 312-642-5600. The one thing I just want to touch before we get on to the next subject is one of the things about the New York ban, the more accurate the firearm, the more undesirable it is, according to the government.
Right.
In other words, they don't want you to actually hit what you're aiming at. They would rather you miss than hit the kid standing next to them.
Mm-hmm.
There's no logic in liberalism.
There really isn't.
It just astounds me. I mean, I just find that hard to believe.
There really isn't. And actually, I mean, reading that article, it really just sounded like these Second Circuit rulings are just reactionary towards the victories that we've had.
Exactly. They're ticked off
for the Second Amendment,
yeah.
Right? And so these judges, these liberal judges, activist judges, are just going, you know what? I don't care if it's not upheld by the Constitution in any way. I'm just going to rule against this.
Yeah, they resent it. And the Connecticut legislature outlawed 183 firearms by name, but couldn't explain why they were outlawed. They didn't have an explanation. They said, well, that name sounds wrong.
Right.
It's bad.
Mm-hmm.
Bad name.
It's very popular. Must be bad.
It must be bad. Yeah, it's got to be bad. This little ditty. How many months has he got left now?
Oh my gosh, like 14?
Is it 14?
Yeah.
There's got to be a counter
maybe
somewhere
13.
For that. Yeah.
Maybe only 30 by the end of no, it is 14 because November, December, and then a year, and then like 3 weeks.
How many unaccountable people can he put in positions?
Oh, don't ask. He will test it. Do not ask the question.
It's beyond reason.
NSA, TS, or NSA, CIA, everybody who's listening, we take it back.
That's probably true. He has now, and he hasn't appointed anybody yet. I can't wait to see who he appoints. But he now has created a new czar.
Yes.
And he's got a lot of them. I mean,
he does.
He has a lot of these czars.
He has a lot
that are accountable to him.
Yes.
Not taxpayers.
No one else.
Right.
Yes.
And they're
not approved by the Senate, like cabinet positions are.
No, there's a non-existent job.
Right. He just made it up.
They're buddies. I wonder if they get paid.
I imagine they do.
They probably do. Knowing him. Yeah, right. But it is going to be to monitor homegrown violent extremism, i.e., right wingers.
Yes.
Literally, that's what they talk about.
Yes.
We're
I like the.
going to be on the list, you know.
Oh, we're already on the list.
Yeah.
I like the opening of this InfoWars article. He says, "Are you afraid that the government is plotting to confiscate your firearms?"
Yes.
Do you believe the economy is about to collapse and the
That's
government
two.
will soon declare martial law?
Two.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you display an unusual number of political and or ideological bumper stickers on your car? You don't, but I do.
Yeah. That's three.
If you answered yes to any of the above questions, you may be an anti-government extremist in the eyes of the police.
And that literally is George is pitching something at me. What?
George is cheering. Yeah.
You're proud of it, aren't you?
Of course, they didn't put Facebook on there too. You know, I'm sure they monitor. That's the
they,
easiest thing to check.
they monitor
that's
Facebook.
even better than bumper stickers.
Right. That's what I mean.
Like he has no bumper stickers to speak of.
Well,
He has two. He's got Oath Keepers and Big Red one. But but like I've got a few Second Amendment ones. I've got a pro-life one. My mom, like the whole backside of my mom's hatchback is like covered.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it really
but yeah,
is.
Facebook is that's like the bumper sticker of the internet.
But here's the thing. With this whole thing, it's tying in with this UN stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I have yet to actually get a good handle on what do they call these centers? So there's a name for them.
Oh, the strong cities?
Yeah, but there's centers. There's something like 25 centers across the country. I can't recall the name of them now off the top, but where UN personnel are going to be, and they're going to coordinate with local law enforcement,
right?
Helping them, right?
Right.
And all this connects together on an international level. Now, this isn't something like, maybe they're talking about it. Apparently, they've got them. They're already exist.
On it. Yeah.
Physically, they exist.
Right.
Yeah. Listen to this. Law enforcement agencies around the country are training their officers to recognize signs of anti-government extremism and to exercise caution during routine traffic stops. Oh, that's that makes me feel comfortable.
Right.
Criminal investigations and other interactions with potential extremists. And then it says the threat is real. Okay.
That's a handout from one of the training programs.
Yeah. Since 2000, the handout notes 25 law enforcement officers have been killed by right-wing extremists who share the fear that government will confiscate firearms and a belief in the approaching collapse of the government economy. You know what? Do you know anybody that has anything against police?
No.
I mean, the whole sort of basic tenet of conservatism is law and order.
Right.
And a lot of us, we're cops. I mean,
right. I mean, law-abiding citizens. That's basically the bedrock of conservatism.
Who among the parties hates police and military?
It's the Democrats.
Duh. Okay.
Yeah.
How does that tally? They're teaching these people that we're the problem.
Right.
The interesting thing is somebody did, and I've not fact checked this, okay, but somebody did a little research, and they went down. They looked at all of the people, the masked guys, murder guys, and I haven't fact checked it.
I saw that too.
But they claim they did, and they were all either Democrats registered, or they came from Democrat families or had those types of liberal leanings.
Right.
You know why that is? Because conservatives are busy at work. We couldn't get away to do it if we wanted to.
I personally think it goes even deeper than that because liberals have no moral underpinning. And that's actually what we're talking about in the next segment. But, not to steal our own thunder, but I think that most conservatives believe in God on some level. Most of us believe that human life has value.
Judeo-Christian ethic.
And Democrats, liberals in general, don't believe that human life has value.
They actually,
and that's really, I think that's really foundationally what it comes down to.
They actually push an agenda against that.
Yes.
They
I mean,
actually do that. Yeah.
pro-choice is really
Yeah.
pro-death.
Yeah.
And they're constantly like, if you believe in evolution, that devalues life. If you believe in abortion, that devalues life. Every
Right.
single thing that they believe in devalues life.
If you look at, and this is an observation that many people have made, if you look at a group of conservatives, like when we go down to the state capitol, okay, and you hear this over and over again, your group is, you clean up after yourselves, you're polite, over and over
You're
in these different things.
organized.
Yeah. And then the other ones go, and here's the other thing. This is the other one that really frosts my Tanutsis, okay? They talk about we're such killer, we have all this hate and stuff.
Right.
Who is it that threatens the lives of conservatives?
Right.
Drag them out in the street and shoot them, and and what's the most recent one? If you want a gun, you should be shot first.
Oh yeah, you have to submit to being shot first. So
It's
you can see what
liberals
it's like.
that come up with that nonsense.
Right. It was Father Flager who said that John Riggio should be dragged down the street and shot.
That's funny how we're the ones that are supposed to be dangerous with the firearms, yet we're not the ones threatening people.
That's exactly right.
Right.
You're listening to On Target Radio. This is AM560 The Answer. Give us a call, 312-642-5600. We're in the middle of talking about extremists, terrorists. They use those two words together.
They
extremists
do.
and terrorists.
There's another line from this article that I want to read. Police agencies now believe the, quote, main terrorist threat in the United States is not from violent Muslim extremists, but from right-wing extremists, unquote. And New York Times editorial backs up these findings.
You look at the Patriot Act. We got sold on the Patriot Act. And part of this is George Bush's fault. I would not deny it. It turns out the whole thing was really kind of a sham, and it was to monitor people.
Right.
That's what it really was. And not terrorists, us.
Just anyone.
Us.
Yeah.
Now we got face recognition in the streets. Satellites, I don't know if you've seen the pictures. Satellites can now actually get right down and look at your face.
Right.
They can see people moving in crowds individually.
Right.
And read plate numbers
Which is
off
how
the
a lot of
cars.
those drone strikes happen.
Right.
They identify people through the cameras on the drones,
Exactly.
and then they kill them.
And now they're getting into predictive policing.
Right. It's just like Minority Report, the Tom Cruise movie.
Exactly. And I predict that you're dangerous. I'm going to drop a dime on you. This stuff is really. What do you always say about George Orwell about 1984?
It was meant to be a warning, not an instruction manual.
Well, it is an instruction manual now.
Well, that's how they're using it. It certainly seems that way.
And here's the worst part of everything. This is what ticks me off the most. Who in the society do you think they claim is the biggest threat? Military guys. Guys coming
veterans.
back from Afghanistan and Iraq. Guys who put their life on the line. They're the threat. That's a bunch of crap. I don't know if I can say that. I think I can say that. Anyway, we're going to be back after a few messages. And when we come back, we're going to talk about where does Obama get his strength from? He gets it from your weakness. That's where he gets it from. We'll be back with more on Target Radio after these messages. And you're listening to AM560 The Answer.
That's a pretty good way of saying that for sure.
Huh?
That's a pretty good way of saying that for sure.
What's saying what?
Get a strength from our weaknesses.
That's it. We've given up. We've been trained to be sheep.
So I'm bringing this one in with her. Right? So
You're bringing this one in.
All right, you guys ever seen The Hunt for Red October?
Oh yeah.
You know where Fred Thompson's in there? He said, Rusty had to take a shit without a plan, or whatever he did. Rusty, This is the same when Fred Thompson's in there. He goes, "Son, Rusty doesn't take a dump without a plan." You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
This is I view liberals the same way, and especially this administration, because they're very good at looking like they're bumbling, and then they bumble their way right into their fucking agenda.
Yeah, exactly.
They're
very good at this.
Right.
They're better than we are.
So here's the thing. I think the whole trying to paint right wing. If for one thing, if you're a cop and you say, "Well, this is stupid. I'm not going along with this. This is stupid." What's your you know, and just put it in your program, or it just becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. That's the whole point. They want to push the point to the extent that it becomes true.
Maybe I missed it. Lost it.
I like the cops.
Literally,
there's a certain
here's the
things
difference.
that won't stand for it.
There's an interesting difference. And maybe I missed it in this segment about how you can't compare America to Australia or to
Britain.
Great Britain, because
That one's been around a while.
well, no, our country literally is based on firearms, freeing ourselves from.
No, it's an existential right.
Right, and culturally, because their complaints
It was
were.
integral.
Yeah,
We
their
also have a
complaints
history
were
of being
that
a
we
much
like to
more
hunt, we
violent
like to
place.
whatever. Our complaint is we don't trust the fucking government.
Large predators were extinct in Britain in the
Right.
1300s
Yeah,
or
these little
1200s or
fox.
something like
Yeah,
that.
little
I mean,
foxes.
there's no, you don't have bear and cougar and,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So
Well,
yeah,
they have
I mean, it
cougars.
was a massive. And plus, yeah, your average Brit didn't have to hunt for their food in 17 or 18.
They hunted fucking pheasant. That fucking pheasant. That's the fucking pheasant.
Smoking bags left and right.
Yeah. You ever see Educating Rita? Oh, you would like it.
I don't know what that is. I'm an Anglophile too.
Educating Rita.
Is it a movie or
It is a movie, and it's about a woman who goes to a professor. She doesn't have it. She's never been educated, and her kids are grown up. And she asks him, and it's Michael Caine,
Okay.
and it's a great movie. So he sets about
Pretty much
the-
anything with Michael Caine is great, except
He sets about the educator, and what do you think happens? She finds her voice, and now she's disagreeing with him, and that is not a popular thing. It's a very, very good movie. But she reads him the riot act about you people, and pass the fucking pheasant and this and that. You know, I mean, it's a good movie. It's really good. It's old. Educating Rita.
I like old movies.
Yeah.
Old is okay.
I find it funny.
Old movies, yes. Old people.
I find it funny that he feels that he's qualified as a movie as old. I just assume that
Well, yeah. See, that's the thing. It's the assumption of contemporary for you means old for us. So.
Well, no, because we've never heard of it, so I'm automatically okay. Must be old.
But I hadn't heard of your TV show.
Right.
Dude, I haven't heard of half the shit on the Man.
I have no idea.
I watch so little
yeah.
TV and
Oh my
so
God!
few movies.
I go through the on
I'm going
demand
through the
menu,
on
I'm like,
demand. I'm like, oh, that was made.
what is
Okay.
that? What is that?
Well, a lot of the stuff is like indie horror movies. I think that's half of the movies right now available on demand when you're clicking through is like indie horror
But
movies.
I will
And
say
it's
one
just the
thing.
worst.
I've always said there's nothing good on TV.
Once I stopped dating, horror movies lost their appeal.
I have found some good TV shows. I watch them through Netflix.
There are a few.
Hell on Wheels. Did you ever see that?
Excellent show.
That was. I watched the whole thing. That was really good.
The whole thing, it's still coming out. There's new episodes.
Is there a new episode?
On A&E.
Now that he's in
They're in the
Los
third
Angeles,
season.
San Francisco, or wherever he is now.
They're in the third season.
Oh, good.
That's on A&E, so you can catch that. We got
Yeah, I
one
don't do
minute.
that. I don't do it because I can't go week to week.
Well, I don't eat.
It's your home owner. What's wrong?
Looks like we won't have dental insurance when I retire.
What?
That's what this letter says.
It's a fact. A lot of Americans lose their dental insurance every year. If you're without dental coverage for whatever reason, you should give us a call. Physicians Mutual Insurance Company has affordable dental insurance to help pay for the care you need. For a free information kit with all the details, call now 1-800-900-3923. Look, even a simple checkup can cost over $100, and other services like root canals or bridges can cost you hundreds more. But for as little as $1 a day, we can help cover more than 300 procedures. Things like cleanings, fillings, crowns, even dentures. Plus, you can see any dentist you want. There are no networks, no deductibles, and no annual maximum. Don't get caught without the coverage you need. Call now for a free information kit about this affordable dental insurance. 1-800-900-3923. That's 1-800-900-3923.
You're listening to On Target Radio on AM560 The Answer with David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz. Here's David and Gretchen with more interesting conversation on gun control, concealed carry, freedom of speech, and other red meat issues that affect your life.
And we're back. We're on Target Radio. Hi, I'm Rick Cizak, the Advertising Sales Director for the On Target Media Group. If you own a small business and need more exposure to potential customers, and what small business doesn't, we can help. For over 3 years, the On Target Media Group has been helping small businesses grow. We offer many different and affordable marketing packages through our partnership program. Plus, we can even create a custom program tailored to your business's needs. To find out more, contact me today at sales.ontargetradio@gmail.com or visit our website at otmediagroup.net/sponsorship. We look forward to helping your business reach its target.
And we're back with more on Target Radio. And for our viewers, there a special treat tonight. They get to see your blue
I
hair.
wondered if you were going to get around to that.
Would you think I would let that go?
No.
No.
It's like the inverted Smurf.
So for those of you who are watching, you want to tell them why you have blue hair?
Well, I put it on Facebook, but if you're not on Facebook, and if you live under a rock, just kidding.
Well, that's a way to attract customers.
There was only a dozen people in the movie theater. I'm actually being very facetious. The movie version, the live action movie version of Gem and the Holograms came out this weekend, and my sister flew in from Arizona to go
just for this,
to go see the movie with me. Also in honor of my birthday,
and dress up.
Right. So we both colored our hair and put on crazy rock and roll makeup, a la Gem and the Holograms, and we went to see the movie. At which there were a dozen people at the 7:30 show.
And who stared at you and went, huh?
Well, they didn't really stare. There was some double takes, I'll say, but it wasn't really full on staring.
But the blue hair, for how long have I been saying you look hot with blue hair?
Since I brought it up.
See, it's probably been a year. Really?
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, speaking of hot, this is not the world's best segue.
No, not.
Speaking of hot,
maybe a hot mess.
we have to give credit for our president's power to us, not you and me, us, but to the people, because we have been sold as a nation a bill of goods, and we've gotten into nanny state,
right?
Literally, and we have just we have just turned over almost every facet of our life to the government at this point. And what do you expect is
No,
going to
we
happen?
collectively. You're not talking about we specifically.
No, not you and I.
We're talking in broad generalization.
We the people.
But it's a usurpation. There's a usurpation of power going on here.
Right.
Very, very clearly. We have an administration that doesn't like Congress, just runs them. Doesn't like Supreme Court, lobbies against the decision.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, that's because nobody has stood up to him.
Right.
He should have been impeached years ago.
Yeah.
But they haven't done it.
No question.
And every time he gets away with something, now he's emboldened for the next thing. He knows he has total control.
Right. It proves to him that he is correct.
Exactly. And the beauty of this is, I forget the number, 12 nations? And we're not talking about Belarus or something. 12 countries, I think it was 12 or 14 countries a week or so ago, all got together and signed a thing that said, there's something wrong with this guy. You should remove him from office.
Oh, I hadn't heard that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's news to me.
Yeah. And Putin, look at how, when in my life would I have ever suggested that I have some level of admiration
that we like
for Putin?
the Russian leader more than our own.
And so what does he do? You're not flying over this country. Okay.
Right. Stay away from Syria because we're going to bomb the living daylights out of them. We're going to get rid of ISIS. If you won't do it, we'll do it.
Don't want you in the way.
Yes.
The United States.
Stay out of our way.
Yeah. Can you imagine if you said that to Ronald Reagan?
Oh my gosh. Bloodbath. Complete and total bloodbath.
It is shocking how bad this man is. It really is shocking.
It is. It is. I never could have fathomed before he was elected, before he took office. I never could have fathomed. I knew he would be bad for our country.
I knew he was
before
socialist from day one.
Right. Before his first inauguration, I knew he was going to be bad for our country. I couldn't have predicted how bad.
And what in the process of all this time, slowly but surely, we've done away with gender identity. We've done away with pretty much everything that this country has been built around.
Right.
Marriage, name it, family values, just about anything you can think of, he has managed to disassemble. Now, remember when I had Eric Zorn on the show?
No, that was before me.
Weren't you listening in those days? You weren't listening.
I missed it.
Oh, I missed it. I had Eric Zorn on the show. And I have a lot of respect for Eric because the point, I don't necessarily agree with everything, but he's an intelligent guy, makes good points. But I said to him, this guy is a socialist, probably a communist. And he goes, you're into that dystopian fantasy where this is going to happen, that's going to happen.
Sure.
Here it is. It has happened. Okay.
Piece by piece.
It is piece by piece, and it's getting worse every day. So Eric, I was right. Okay.
Well, and for Freedom's Journal Institute, which is Eric Wallace's magazine.
Right.
This is his publication. And he basically puts the end at the beginning. He says, ask ancient Rome. They're turning us into ancient Rome.
They are indeed. And we're going to be back, not drinking out of lead chalices, but we'll be back with more On Target Radio after a few messages. I thought that was clever.
There was.
And you're listening to AM560, The Answer.
Yeah, you said some friend of yours told you should do this, so I put it in.
Oh, right. I forgot about that.
Well, I didn't.
Clearly.
So that means you're bringing it in.
So my friend, what he actually wanted to know was, the question he actually asked was, as Second Amendment people, as gun people, what are we okay with as far as measures to prevent these sorts of accidents?
And in Oak Forest, a motorcycle crash at 147
Yeah. I don't think we can fill a 6-minute segment with that.
What I think just keep doing it. What I'm comfortable with is that.
Right, is that dumbasses don't do dumbass things with their guns. That's what I'm thinking.
And you know what? Here's the reality. It's a terrible thing. Don't get me wrong. And I'm certainly not slighting it in the least amount. But the truth is, this doesn't happen very often.
No.
Despite what the liberals want you to hear. And they actually quote a number here, if I remember.
69 in 2013, I think.
There were, what, in 2013, there were 50, what?
69.
69, okay. Which is 69 too many. But virtually anything else kills more kids than that.
Right.
So it's not that I'm slighting. See, you got to be real careful how you say this. You got to really walk in a fine line.
Yeah, I think as long as one of us says 69 to 69 too many, I think, you know.
Maybe all of us. One,
69.
Although I've always personally liked 69. But the point is,
context and phrasing.
You know, we could make a comedy out of this. You never know. Those people who say it's Second Amendment Constitution, there shouldn't be anything. You're right. I get that. But just think of all the students we train, some of the things you've heard people say.
Right.
So I don't have a problem with some education. I don't think that people should be barred from owning guns for protection. I think they should be required to take training. There shouldn't be grades or anything. They should just go through something. You know what I'm saying? So they're exposed to it. Because what we're always saying is you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
That's the problem.
That's true.
And that's what I'll say. You bring it up and I'll say that so that you won't get the hate.
Okay.
Tim probably.
I also want to mention what Ed said, because it's in reference to something that you said.
What did he say?
He said he fact-checked the thing about saying the mass shooters are Democrats. He said it's not true.
15 seconds.
They were actually hardcore Republicans.
Probably not really that either.
You're going to bring in
management agency aired in with the Illinois Broadcasters Association and this station.
You're listening to On Target Radio on AM560 The Answer with David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz. Here's David and Gretchen with more interesting conversation on gun control, concealed carry, freedom of speech, and other red meat issues that affect your life.
And we're back with more On Target Radio. Our friend and lawyer, Ed Ronkowski, wrote in and he said that the Facebook thing and the mass email that has circulated about mass shooters being Democrats is actually false. So, unfortunately, false. So,
but he didn't say they were Republicans either. They're probably amorphous.
Mostly no. Some of them were raised in Republicanish families, but mostly not Republicans.
They were just scum of the earth.
Right. Mostly mentally ill.
You're going to.
Oh, I'm sorry. So
don't mean to interrupt.
I'm sorry. I thought I was done. So this segment this was actually a question that was asked by a friend of mine from Millikan University, and he was pointing out the recent tragedy of the 3-year-old who was shot and killed by his 6-year-old brother.
Right.
And he said as Second Amendment people, as pro Second Amendment people, what types of laws or whatever are you willing to have, or would you suggest to prevent these sorts of tragedies?
See, this is a very fine line between giving my opinion and have people waiting in the parking lot with overripe vegetables and fruits.
Well, at least they
Not a
would.
best day.
Well, and this is the question that I put. Obviously, this is a terrible thing. Okay,
Of course.
it's a horrible thing.
Of course.
But if you go down to the core of this father illegally bought a firearm
Yes.
and left it where the kid could get a hold of it.
Right.
Okay, so here's the thing: it's the Second Amendment of the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
When you go from one state to another, you don't lose your First Amendment rights.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody says you can't do this, you can't do that. Now, I know there are some restrictions to some of the amendments, like you can't yell fire, the old hackneyed thing about you can't yell fire in the theater. Okay, I get that. But here's the thing, personally, and I know I'm going to get email on this because you have a shooting school, and that's what you said. My feeling is people shouldn't be denied the right to own a firearm, but there should be some sort of an education. And maybe they don't even have to get a passing grade. There's no grade to it. But as we always say in the seminars, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
Right.
And people come through the door and they, I know, I've been shooting my whole life. I know this. And when they go out and we read the stuff, what do they say? I never heard this stuff before.
Right.
So basically something considerably similar to what we do with our concealed carry licensing.
Right.
Yeah, some required education possibly.
It's just, if you just had a basic course, and I don't want it to be a pass-fail thing, because nobody should be denied, if they're law-abiding citizens, they shouldn't be denied the right to have a gun. But to have a little education, I think that'd be
Well,
a good
and
thing.
I think that the NRA has done a lot to further that. The NRA has their Eddie Eagle program, and they offer that free. They will come into any school or civic group or any gathering of children, and they will teach the Eddie Eagle program, which is, don't touch a firearm, tell an adult, all that sort of thing. And I think, I don't have the statistic in front of me, but I have seen statistics that since they started doing the Eddie Eagle program, that these types of shootings have dropped dramatically.
This type of thing has dropped. And it's also important to know, and again, I'm not making excuses. It's also important to know that there were 69 of them, right? In
2013.
2013. That's probably the lowest of the other things that have killed kids. Car accidents, all that kind of stuff. And again, I'm not trying to make excuses, but this is not the kid's fault. No. He's a 6-year-old kid. He's playing cops and robbers. And according to the article, his father did say, don't touch this. This is for adults only.
He showed it to the child, and he instructed the child not to touch it.
But it should have been a secured gun.
Well, it could have been either hidden or secured better.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
And the other thing too is he purchased the gun illegally. Guns that are purchased legally new all come with some sort of a disabling device.
Yeah.
So either a cable lock that you put through it, or a trigger lock, or some sort of device. Every device is sold with something. Every gun, I should say, is sold with some sort of a device nowadays. And I think that's helped a lot too.
It's a terrible thing that happened, and there's no question about it. But, you hear people say this, and I grit my teeth when I say it. That loss, as horrible as it is, should not take someone's constitutional rights away.
Well, right. One person's stupid action,
right,
in general, does not cause us to lose our rights to do
That's it.
the similar things. We always have the example of drunk driving. Just because one person, drives under the influence and breaks the law, we don't all lose our privileges to drive.
Well, and that's a really good point, because some nutball kills somebody with a knife. They don't blame the nutball. It's nutball, okay? Somebody hits somebody with a car, runs them over. It's the driver. It's just until you get to a gun. And all of a sudden, it's no longer the person behind the gun.
Right.
What they really need to do is get people who shouldn't own a gun, mental health problems, and stop them from getting guns. I don't have a problem with that. I really don't.
The question is, how do you do that?
That's what I have a problem
And then we get back to the whole Minority Report thing. I mean, it's very, very, very problematic.
It is.
I mean, whenever people talk about these things and whenever you go down that road, you basically end up at 1984. I mean, there's there's really no other conclusion.
It's true. All right. Well, this was like segment 6. Yeah. We didn't solve a problem.
Nope.
It's perfect.
No, we did.
We're going to be back with more on Target Radio after a few messages. We're going to wrap the whole thing up. And you're listening to AM560, The Answer.
Well, yeah, the thing is, the root problem is the whole responsible factor, you know? They're responsible.
If the guy would have just secured the gun, that would have happened.
But same thing would happen if they had left the keys to the car out and the kid, wandered in the garage and blamed us.
Which happened, which also happened.
It's another way kids die. It's tragic, but you don't blame the car.
See, this is a gun. And so automatically, it's not the action of the person, it's the object.
Well, and I really think, unlike freedom of speech, unlike freedom to drive a car, people think that the right to own a gun, the Second Amendment, is optional. It's expendable. They don't value it the way we do.
No. No. It's and it's gotten worse than ever because this administration has had a very, in the early days of this administration, people were talking about him being there was nothing left about this guy. This has been in the works. He's known exactly where he's going.
Well, right, and like when you were saying that his foreign policy is a joke or something like that. No. It's totally serious. It's all on purpose.
Well, let's see what he said. Let's see what he did say. It was, he didn't say it was a joke. It was, let me see.
Which means you could lose everything. Once business owners realize the risk of not being incorporated, they usually scramble to incorporate or form an LLC. To make it quick and easy, Incorporate.com is now giving away a free incorporation guide for business owners, so you can incorporate in just 10 minutes. For your free 10-minute incorporation guide, call now.
What?
Because the stuff in my hair is clay-based. It's turning to dust, basically.
It'll come out eventually?
Oh, yeah. It's not permanent at all.
Okay.
It's supposed to last 2 to 3 washes. So I think I'm getting this dust on my nose.
Oh, geez.
I was like Smurf boogers.
Nice.
You're listening to On Target Radio on AM560.
The Answer with David Lombardo, Gretchen Fritz. Here's David and Gretchen with more interesting conversation on gun control, concealed carry, freedom of speech, and other red meat issues that affect your life.
And we're back on Target Radio. I was trying to look up the 60 Minutes interview with the president, and I forget the guy's name because I remember the old guys on 60 Minutes, and he's not an old guy. But and he didn't say it was a joke, but an embarrassment.
Oh.
He said, Obama, this is 60 Minutes, not exactly the bastion of conservatism.
No, quite the opposite.
To the president's face, said your foreign policy is an embarrassment.
Right.
Which, of course, is true.
That is true.
But yeah, I found that very interesting. Anyway, you're good to go, yes?
I am.
Stand by. Here's Gretchen with your action items for the week.
You are invited to compete in the ASC Fall Clays Classic at the Aurora Sportsman's Club on Saturday, November 7th from 10:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. The cost is $25 for adults and $15 for children, which includes 100 clays, brats, hot dogs, chips, and drinks. You will shoot 25 rounds of skeet, 25 rounds of 5-stand, 25 rounds of trap, and 25 rounds of your choice. The Aurora Sportsman's Club is on Rough Road in Waterman, Illinois, west of Sugar Grove. They would like RSVPs via email to asc.allclays@gmail.com. I put the information on Facebook last week. The following Safer USA classes are all at our office in Waterman. Saturday, November 14th, Tactical Pistol 1 and 2, taught by David. Saturday and Sunday, November 14th and 15th, Illinois Concealed Carry 1, taught by David and Gretchen. Saturday, November 21st, Illinois Concealed Carry 2, taught by Gretchen for those who have an exemption for the first 8 hours. Sunday, November 22nd, Tactical Rifle and Pistol Gun Employment, taught by Eric. To sign up for classes, go to saferusa.com and click on register.
It's Steve Croft did the interview, and he actually interrupts the president. The president says, Steve, let me just say this: it's an embarrassment. He just interrupts in mid-sentence. It's an embarrassment, and he takes him to task for the $500 million to train fighters, and gets 5 people, 5 out of that money. I mean, this stuff is it is a joke, not a funny joke.
You can't make it out.
No, it's nuts. We're doing segment 6 tonight.
Yes, we are. We're doing segment 6, and we'll be talking about the I had it right in front of me. Sorry, the total gun confiscation, if it's going to work or not, basically.
Right, whether or not you can really confiscate guns in this country, and that's I think that's a pithy subject.
It is.
300 million guns.
It'd be very, very interesting.
I'm betting that a few of those 300 million gun owners are not going to go along with the idea.
Yes,
you know?
I'm nodding my head. Yes.
I'm just thinking that. I don't know. We'll never know because they're going to probably lock us up in the first 13 seconds.
I think we're going to be in the first round of arrests.
Yeah, exactly.
Black SUV again.
Exactly. Oh yeah. Well, the entire club action sports team, we're all going to be selling.
You're all on the list.
Locked up. Yeah. It's
training's important.
Whenever anybody says I don't want to do that because I don't want to get on a list, I'm like, if I'm not on the list already, they're not paying attention.
Yeah, it's the list was a long. I think we probably were the first to be on the list. No. Joe Walsh has got to be the first on the list.
I don't know. I don't know when Joe Walsh first started being Joe Walsh, but
I think
I started being
40-some years ago.
I started being this in about 2009, around the Tea Party time. So,
all right. Yeah. Anyway, thank you for listening to On Target Radio. Be sure to listen next week when we'll be covering the red meat issues that affect your life.
We'd also like to thank George Hoffman on the board, our social media coordinator and ad sales director, Rick Zizek, and our sponsors, DS Arms, the Illinois State Rifle Association, the Aurora Sportsman's Club, Stone City Kitchen and Bath Design Center, and Safer USA. I did it again.
It's I've heard of blonde moments. I never heard of blue moments before, but apparently that was a blue moment. Yeah. What can I say, Smurf lady? It is what it is. Anyway, we'll be back next week, and as always, thanks, Michael, for making all of this happen.